Hi, everybody. I'm Mel Doerr, Chicago Aloha shirt psychic, and I'm so happy I have psychic author. Oh no, not Arthur in the house.
Arthur,
I always had a trouble with that, like author or Arthur.
I know. It's like I'm the author of an ebook by Arthur.
There you go. And to contact him, how do they contact you?
Besides the sandwich board that says we'll read for food.
Yeah,
It's basically psychicarthur.com. They
that's
can email me at psychicarthur.com.
right.
Email is arthur@psychicarthur.com. And the phone number is up on my website, but it's 310-494-5955.
So that's psychic, Psychic,
Psychic.
Arthur,
Yeah. You
Arthur
are. Mhm.
dot com. All
Correct.
right. And go to his YouTube channel and subscribe and hit the thumbs up.
Thank you.
YouTube channel, Psychic Arthur. So,
Yes.
uh, I see you getting a lot of subscribers.
Well, I like that. I see you getting
Okay.
a lot of appointments.
So, uh, what what made you decide to go on YouTube? And when did you first realize you were psychic and all of that stuff?
Well, when you're a kid, you always know. You know stuff. And I mean, when I was a little kid, I would walk up to people at like Pomeroy's or the department stores and start talking to people. My father was horrified and would just pick me up and take me across to the other side of the store. Like, shut
Do
up.
not talk to strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the kid that says, my parents told me not to get in a car with strangers and he called an Uber. But
They didn't have Uber nowadays.
oh no, no, no. But when it really came to prominence, the first time was I was in second grade. And at the time, I'm originally from Levittown, Pennsylvania. Then we moved to Indianapolis, and I was going to Catholic school there. And about second grade, we're talking about 1962. And that's when the nuns had the full wimpling gown, the whole scary
The
monolithic
penguins,
thing.
as they call them in the Blue Brothers, the
The
penguin.
penguins, yes. So I just got this instinct to walk up to the nun and tell her something. And in those days, that's like walking up to a judge in a courtroom without permission, you know, contempt of court.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
just walked up to the nun and she's like, "What do you want?" And I said, "There's no need to cry. You don't have to cry." Okay. And I said, "Sister Marie Jean is going to be fine. Don't need to cry." And she like looked at me and said, basically, "Damien, go sit down, you know. So I sat down. The minute I sat down, the Mother Superior came over the loudspeaker and said, "Can we all have a moment of silent prayer for Sister Marie Jean? She was taken to the hospital." I mean,
And after the teacher did a high requiem mass for you because she probably
no, it
stuck.
was more like an exorcism
Yeah,
because
that's my
um,
point.
in those days, you're a little tyke and you're going into church and you're in a single file and the nun has the clicker and everybody has to genuflect to the clicker.
Oh, I remember that.
And so we're genuflecting to the clicker. And all of a sudden I'm like, what's this? There's something, what is this? I turn around and the nun was flicking holy water on me. I'm like, well, it's not sizzling, so I guess I'm fine, you know?
Oh yeah. Uh, I remember when the priest didn't face the
Yeah,
congregation.
exactly. That wasn't until Pope Paul
It
at
was
the
after
Vatican.
it was after the Second Vatican Council when they
Yes, the
changed
Vatican
it.
Council where
And everything was done in Latin. My grandmother used to have
exactly.
the Missalette, and the red part you'd have to read. And it
Oh
was,
yeah.
and it looked like the priest was saying, he'd face the cross, and his back was to the congregation, and it sounded like he was saying, "I play dominoes, you play dominoes, we play dominoes."
Yeah, exactly. Or and well
But I
actually
like the
an
high
altar boy.
masses back in those days; those were
Oh
cool.
my God. I was an altar boy once though. Just
I
once.
wasn't.
Because I got there late and I put on my cassock and I'm walking out with the chalice with the Holy Eucharist.
I
And
like to drink the altar wine. It was really good.
yeah, well, the castle was too long. When I stepped on it, it ripped out the hem. The chalice with the Eucharist went flying. All these nuns are like putting, Kleenex over the blessed Eucharist. And so people wonder why I ended up in the choir. So that's how.
Only open your mouth when we tell you to sing. Okay.
Well, actually, I was younger than that. I remember one time at church. It's not about being psychic, but I was with my grandmother and, body of Christ. And I'm looking at my grandmother and she's like, and the priest starts looking at me. I'm just like 4 years old. I said, that looks really dry. Do they have jam with that?
I call it the fish food.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. Yeah.
And I remember you weren't supposed to eat with, an hour before you'd go like
Exactly.
to communion, and you'd be so hungry.
And then there's also,
Get fish food stuck
fish
in your
on
mouth.
Fridays,
I'm sorry. Yeah, fish on Friday.
fish on Fridays. Yeah, all
I
that
wonder
stuff.
what happened to all of those people, because years ago they had menial sins and mortal
Menial
sins.
things.
And
Menial and mortal.
I asked the priest once, well, what's the difference between a venial sin and a mortal sin? Well, a mortal sin, you see this mud? It looks like that on your soul. A venial sin is like, right? But I guess if you had too many, it says venial sins, not menial sins.
Yeah.
If you had too many venial sins, then that happened to mortal
Adds
sins.
up. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, all those people during Lent who ate meat on Friday, and they added up all these venial sins. What happened to them after Vatican II? Because they would have gone to hell, So
Exactly.
what happened to all of them? Would they take the elevator up to heaven then?
Or an escalator and has a couple stops, but it's just who
Or all
knows?
those babies in limbo? Limbo was a place they said if a baby was born unbaptized, it went to limbo. But after Vatican II, they did away with limbo. So what happened to all those babies? They floating around in space somewhere? I don't know.
They're doing the limbo.
Yeah. Anyway,
How low can you go?
the
But
Catholic upbringing. I did like the fish fries on Friday though, because that fish was really good.
really, my mother used to make codfish. It was like,
Now we used to go to the fish fry, and it was like fried, and you put it on with a little slice of cheese and on rye bread. Oh, it was so good with
we
tartar
didn't have
sauce.
that.
Yum.
We didn't have that. Yeah, we used to go to a cafeteria once in a while, and this one woman would go, "Hey kid, you want some tartar sauce?" It was like, yeah, and she was very friendly with the other female there. So
I remember we used to always go to the fish fries and they had the cake wheels, and you could, or
oh
they
yeah,
had money wheels, like you put money on a number, and if it won, you'd win X amount of money or cakes. My grandmother always won stuff. I never won anything, but I would, Grandma, please, please. I'd walk away with this pocket full of coins and
that's
a cake
nice.
or something.
That's good, and did not go to the poor box.
Catholic was kind of fun growing up because you could gamble, you could cuss, and you could, then go to confession and be forgiven and do it all over again.
Well, it's like my friends from down south. They'll say the most vile thing to someone, then say, "God bless,"
Oh, I know.
and get
Well,
away with it.
bless your heart, where I come
Yeah.
from.
Or "Bless your pea picking heart,"
Yeah, right.
Tennessee.
Okay,
Forward.
so what made you decide later on to delve into your psychic abilities and to get on YouTube and do
Well,
what?
actually, it was a bit of a journey because I didn't come out of the gate saying I'm going to be a psychic, even though I knew things, and you learn not to use it after a while or keep your mouth shut. And I was always an outcast in school. I was never, and so I felt that's when I got interested in music, and music saved my life because I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for that because I was
And
just
your
did not
music
want.
is excellent, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So, and then I moved here to Los Angeles in the 80s to go to film scoring at UCLA. And then one job leads to the other, and I ended up being a writer reporter for 13 years. Doing a little bit of music here and there, but in those days we didn't have computers. You had to have a full orchestra to hire. So at that time I was back working in New York, and I got a call from the bureau chief in Washington, D.C. saying, can you come down to Washington, D.C. like in the next day or two? I'm like, I guess I can find a story to do something. Why? She said, Jeane Dixon wants to meet you. Now, Jeane Dixon was our psychic for the magazine. She did a quarterly.
She wrote a book called The Gift of Prophecy.
I have it right here, autographed. So what happened was I get this call, and so I go down to Washington, D.C., and I go to the restaurant and meet them for breakfast. And there's this little lady, just like an aura that was blinding, just sitting there smiling. And the first thing out of her mouth was, you have a twin sister like I do. I'm like, yeah. And so we started talking. She started looking at my hands and looking at all these little stars in my hands. And she's showing me her stars in her hands. You're psychic, aren't you? I'm like, and there's a third party there. So we didn't really get into it much. So we had a great time. And also it was under the guise that she wanted to talk to me because she wanted me to write a column with her for the New York Times Syndicate, a children's advice column. It never really took off, but it is what it is. So then I went back to my hotel, and about an hour later, I get this call, and it's Jeane Dixon. And she said, I want you to come to my townhouse in my office. I'm like, well, I'm actually waiting for it. She said, you're not going to get the story today. They're going to call you tomorrow. So I have you for the rest of the day. So I went there, and it was funny. She had this big Selectric, the typewriters. She's writing an op-ed piece for the New York Times. And said, and she rips it out and goes, look at this. What do you think? And she said, I'm not sure about this paragraph. So I looked at it and said, oh, well, I rewrote it for her and said, what about this? She said, great, fine. Now we got that out of the way. I want to talk to you. You know you're psychic, right? And I said, well, I know a lot of things, but, And then she stopped and looked at me and said, oh, by the way. And this is when I was going through that phase in my life. Like, I knew what I was besides psychic, but you didn't know how to put in words. And we're talking about the 80s. So it's kind of out, but not. And she said, by the way, you are not a mistake. God does not make mistakes. You have your feelings, they're from God. So don't question them. You are who God made you to be. And that was it. So that's how she broached the subject.
So then you started doing your psychic work as well.
Well, I put it away a little bit. I mean, when I was in college, I bought some tarot cards and all that and reading books and all this kind of stuff, but it never really gelled for me. And then after that meeting with her, everything sort of like amped up. And then I moved to Los Angeles and back to Los Angeles, actually. And then I met this British psychic who introduced me to the Lenormand deck and helped me to hone my stuff. So, but it was Jeane that really became my mentor. We talked about astrology, we talked about a lot of stuff. And she said when she was growing up that in Los Angeles, her parents knew that there was something different about her because she knew things. Staunch Catholic, they took her to the Jesuits. The Jesuits priests taught her everything she said about astrology. And best books in the Vatican, the best books on the planet on astrology are in the Vatican, she said. And what makes you think the popes don't have their own, like 3 astrologers? Come on.
Really?
And she said, it's, and the other thing that she said, which always stuck with me, is even though she was a staunch Catholic, went to church every morning, she said, don't forget, religion is man-made, so it's flawed. Spirituality is our gift from God. So it's not, never question yourself.
Okay.
And I remember once I asked her about, but it's gifts from God that we have and we charge money for it. And she said, you know what? You know my friend Leonard Bernstein? Do you know who that is? I said, of course. He goes, fine. He's got this great gift from God, writing all this music and conducting, and he makes a ton of money using his gift from God. So what's the difference? And she had a way of just putting things in perspective.
So we got questions we got to get to, but I want to
I'm
get
sorry.
No, that's okay. No problem. No pressure. No pressure. But
Right.
so I want to get to,
I don't talk about this stuff that much, so it's kind of interesting.
oh, that's okay. It's good. So what,
So fast forward real fast. So then I left the magazine that I was working for. I went to a television show and I wrote the music for the show, and I was one of the writers. And then the show went into hiatus, and then 9/11 hit and nobody was working. I couldn't get a job. And I'd always read for people. So my friends saying, why don't you just put out your shingle, start reading, make some money? So that's basically 20 years ago, whenever 9/11 was, that's when this all started. And then it was also after my father died. And that to me was, there was a trauma with that. So I feel that trauma in my life opened my third eye really fast. That and needing a paycheck. So that's where this started. And then the reason for the YouTube channel is because of you.
no, I didn't do anything.
I had a reading with you and we were talking about it, and you said, you should do a YouTube channel. I said, I'm not ready. And you said, do guided meditations. And that's what's on my tube right now.
Those are really good, by the way.
Thank you. Listen. No, it's just, there's different topics, and I'm trying to put one or two up a month on them. So they're fun. So that's a fast forward Cliff Note version.
Okay, are you ready to get to some questions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so here we go. Spin the wheel.
Drum roll.
The cake wheel goes. Sorry, I just
This point.
all right. KBG says, hi, Mel and Arthur. Who comes up with the GOP culture war stuff like trashing drag queens, trans kids, and basically bullying anyone who isn't a white heterosexual male? Who comes up with the terms like cancel culture, Antifa, radical left? Is there some right-wing think tank where they dream up those snappy slogans and decide which marginalized group they can pick on? She says, thanks.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a think tank. I just think,
Well, I mean, that's an oxymoron when you're talking about GOP, because they have to have a brain to think.
well, yeah, think tank is an oxymoron when it comes to some GOP.
So, I mean, the maggots have their way of doing things, but I feel it's like people get these little clever ideas. I
Well,
mean, they have this way of, I actually feel psychically that once in a while they do have some focus groups on what words work in their own way.
I think they just have political strategists. However, it's like my friend James says, most of these politicians don't give one hoot about their constituents. They don't really care.
No. I mean,
Abortion.
I was going to be pithy, and when you said who does this stuff, I was going to say self-hating gay men that think they're white and GOP. Sorry.
It's like he says, they don't care about abortion. They don't care about trans people. They don't care about LGBTQ. They pander to the ultra white Christian nationalists because they want to keep their power. And when he said that, my guides put the psychic light bulb in my head. Yes. So, I think, they're always, they gain power by marginalizing people. That's how Hitler came. That's what
Hitler, divide and conquer.
That's what Hitler did. That's what
Mussolini.
That's what Putin is doing in Ukraine. There's Nazis there. Yeah, well,
and that's what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida.
Correct, and that's what Abbott is doing in Texas. So anyway, they play on people's fear. But and who was it, that politician Knowles, that said that transgender people should be eradicated?
Eradicated, yeah.
And then
I wonder if he ever watched Flip Wilson growing up.
Probably not.
With Geraldine and Milton Berle and drag and all those people.
But then he backpedaled. Oh, I didn't think they should be eradicated.
I read that. It was like,
that's what you said, right? But anyway, so we have to speak up. And my guides show me these for a while. Some of them might look as if they win the battle, but they won't win the war.
No, I mean, I always get, whenever I think of this stuff, I'm not a tarot card reader, I'm a clairvoyant more. And I get this image of a wound. And a wound that has to heal, all that stuff has to come out to the surface, all that pus, all that gross shit. Sorry, all that gross stuff I talk like a truck driver, so I'm sorry. But all this
You
gross
can't
stuff,
swear on YouTube.
I can't.
No,
We'll bleep it.
I can't.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, sorry people, entertainment purposes only. I'm a potty mouth. So anyway, and so all this pus and everything comes out of the wound. And so in order for it to heal, all that has to come to the surface and leave. And that's what I feel we're going through right now is all these crazies are coming to the surface. And it looks like they're winning. They're not going to. They're going to go away.
Good. Okay, Rob wants to know, do
Yes,
you
Rob.
see any hurricanes hitting the mid-Atlantic states or Washington, D.C. this spring, summer, or fall? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm getting something in September that's going to be a biggie.
I see a couple of huge hurricanes coming that'll come all the way up the eastern seaboard. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, but I'm just saying something about September. There may be two that are like linked to each other. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. But I'm getting a yes on that. Sorry, Rob.
Okay. Libby Lou asks, hi. So I just saw on our local news that an Illinois Republican politician is creating a bill to not only place restrictions on abortion, but to pave the way towards banning it here in Illinois. Do your guys see Illinois outlining or restricting abortion rights in the future? I know Governor Pritzker won't sign anything like that, but I'm worried the next time we get a Republican governor in the future, they will push this through and even mess with our voting rights, because you know how some of these politicians are. I hate to say I don't see it happening, but I don't. As long as downstate, and here in Illinois, we say downstate because that's Springfield, as long as as long as the Democrats control the House and the Senate, they can try all they want. Even with a Republican governor, they can try all they want to get a bill through, but it'll never get through the House or the Senate.
Right, it doesn't get through. I mean, I feel they're going to try, but it ain't going to be what they want. It's not going to happen.
Good.
I actually feel that I don't know what it is now in Illinois, but I was going to say I heard the word codify when you were talking.
The word what?
Codify. They'll codify Roe Wade in Illinois.
Well, ultimately, I see Roe v. Wade being upheld.
I agree to that too.
Okay. Sherry says, because of the long-lasting war in Ukraine and sanctions on Russian oil, do you see a world oil shortage?
No. Nope. Not at all.
I mean, if there is, it's because of the oil producing companies are trying to.
They're going to hoard it and they're going to make, oh my God, we don't have any, and they're storing it.
But I would rather put $100 a gallon, pay $100 a gallon than put 1 cent of Putin's Moscow mud in my gas tank.
Exactly. I agree 1,000%. And gas here is at $5.29 this morning.
Okay. Diane, how much? I'm sorry?
$5.29.
That's not that expensive here. It's 3 something. Anyway, the Diane Brewer. When will Netanyahu go away? He's a horror, and the U.S. should never support him. He's the one that's the president or the prime minister of Israel.
Prime Minister of Israel. Sorry.
I see him gone. He's, he was indicted, but I still see him in hot water. So I think he tried to revamp the whole system, but people were like protesting.
No, he tried to, do it.
I don't know if that went through or not because I haven't been watching.
It did, but people aren't happy. I don't see him around. I see him around. Not that he's going to leave us, but I see him not being the prime minister.
So did I hear you correctly that he tried to pass those laws that would kind of protect him? So they did go through, or they didn't?
Some of them went through, from what I read. But what I'm saying, in the long run, he's not going to be around long enough.
I see him indicted at some point.
Yeah, like somebody else.
Well, he passed those laws to protect his own skin.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ron Brock, do you see Ukraine starting their counterattack anytime soon and continuing to push Russia out of their country? Any updates on Putin maybe being forced out anytime soon? Thanks to both of you.
When this whole Ukrainian war started, I mean, like the rest of us, I was horrified. And my relatives are, my mom's side, they were on the border between Ukraine and Poland. So, I mean, I have cousins in that area. So I was freaking out. I always feel that, yeah, they're going, just like they thought they would go in and like get everything done in a month. And it was a year later, they haven't really made the headway they thought they would. These guys fight. They love their country. They're going to fight.
Well, my guides show me that it would take that Putin would never win in 1 month, that he wouldn't win at all. And if he's not careful, it's going to be like another Afghanistan was to the Soviet Union, or the Vietnam was to the United States, or Afghanistan to us. It's a war that he will not win. And my guides told me that the Ukrainians will fight if they have to until the last person. They're
Exactly.
not going to give up. You
I
know,
love when they first started, the old ladies would give the Russian soldiers
yeah,
sunflower seeds and say, so when you die, we'll have flowers.
right. I do see Ukraine getting a lot of the weapons they need.
Yeah.
Obviously, the tanks and aircraft as well. I see.
You're again, last I was reading something about clusters, the cluster bombs, they're going to get.
I see them getting aircraft as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my feeling is they've already trained a lot of pilots, Ukrainian pilots, to fly those aircraft. I think they've hesitated on it because they were afraid that Russia might escalate. But, you know, Putin is running out of money. I think countries like China and maybe India are sneaking him stuff under the table. But the Ukrainians, they have all
said that, but they don't have any more money in less than a year. They have no more money in Russia.
The United States has, I'm sorry, Ukraine has probably would have all of NATO and all of the European Union on their side. So that's why Putin didn't want Finland or Sweden to join NATO.
Right.
And you know, I don't see nuclear weapons being used. So
I don't see that. I've never picked that up.
Okay. I see Putin being forced out, but you know, a lot of readers say it's soon, but I think he's going to be in for a while. He is more paranoid and self-isolating.
Whenever I look at him, I get the energies of like Hitler when he was in the bunker.
That's exactly right.
When he started really dingy. And I don't know, every time I look at that man, I think his brain is Swiss cheese. There's something wrong with him. Well,
we know that.
Entertainment purposes only, people.
Okay. Beth Avidas, hi Mel and Arthur. Will there be any catastrophic hurricanes hitting Belize in the next few years? I don't know how catastrophic they'll be, but I do see some hurricanes hitting, but it's not going to be as deadly as some of them, like that hit Puerto Rico and the Caribbean, you know, within the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's not going to level the place.
Right. Okay. Hi, Mel and Arthur. As we see the GQP, I think that probably means GOP, probably means QAnon, the GQP.
Yeah.
Cannibalize themselves. Will independents vote for more for Dems in 2024? The stuff the GQP is saying out loud is insane. Well, we know that. Like Tucker Carlson, that, they were just visiting the Capitol. It wasn't that bad. Like,
even Mitch McConnell, like,
oh my God.
Tucker Carlson did.
I think a lot of independents will vote for the Dems. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because this, I mean, I love that she used the word cannibalize, because that's what the Democrats are, you know, accused of eating little children. So, no, it's not. Crazy's crazy, and people don't want it anymore.
I think it's going to be the month of responsibility. And so that people, when they come out, you know, like Tucker Carlson and all of that, I mean, a lot of Republicans said, what? I mean, but who gave Tucker Carlson those tapes? McCarthy.
McCarthy,
He's
right?
controlling the House, not McCarthy, Donald Trump. And I asked my guides why that was done. And they answered me the following way: it's to divert attention away from the truth, because
Right.
Trump knows he's going to be indicted, and he can say, look, you see, it's a witch hunt because that really didn't happen. They were just vacationers. They were just
Over here, people, and don't
it
mind the smoke and the
it was
mirrors.
peaceful chaos. Yeah, right. So, I'm sure that it's Trump knows how to play probably Tucker Carlson as well. Tucker Carlson is not a conservative, he's a liar
Exactly.
for entertainment purposes only. But my guide said this, and then he said that Officer Brian Sicknick's
Oh my
death
God, the
had
family, like,
nothing.
leave us
He
alone. They're
said it,
saying
he
it
said it had
wasn't.
nothing. He said it had nothing to do with the riot. I'm like, what?
There's footage of that.
I'm sorry.
There's footage of that.
Of course. So everybody's like, what? I don't understand. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits about that. Specifically, a lot of those officers that were hurt, and him saying that it wasn't due to the riot. Their families are going to go after him, and you know what? They're going to win.
Especially in civil suits.
Well, the whole thing is here again: deceive, divert, distract, divide, and destroy.
Right.
It's a distraction. It's,
Yeah.
it's
Weapons of mass distraction. It's one of my favorite films.
exactly. So Trump will be like, well, you see, they're going after me for nothing because it didn't really happen. I don't know. I think it's amazing that McCarthy released those 40,000 hours of tapes to Tucker Carlson. And those tapes I saw that Tucker Carlson showed weren't even date stamped. They didn't have a date on them.
Exactly.
That's when they were filmed.
So, I mean, talk about yellow journalism. And
It's all about
propaganda and blah blah
it's,
blah.
it's
And look at all the other news medias out there saying, why can't we have them?
it's just, somebody called it a shock jock, and I love that saying. It's about feeding lies. And then I heard Lindsey Graham's comments, and he was like playing to both sides, and I'm like, oh please. But he's going to be in trouble too. So, all right. Anyway, yes, I do see them cannibalizing themselves in H Mountain Dancer.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. Ace S234 says, do you think Trump will be publicly exposed for criminal money laundering for the Russians with his properties? I think they already know where a lot of that dark money came from.
They know where, not only where the bodies are buried, they know where the shovels are kept. And they really do. They just haven't told
They
anybody.
know a lot they're not coming out with, and
They
they
can't.
can't.
They can't.
But a lot of it will come out.
Yeah.
A lot more is coming out.
And
this
I
is
do say that one day we do get the PP tapes.
this is the month of truth and responsibility. So there we go.
Well, especially with this March is extremely important this year, especially when we have Pluto going from Capricorn into Pisces at the end of this month. All the crap is coming to the surface, and then we get to see what it is. And we have the full moon tonight, so there's a lot of illumination on all the crap.
Full moon means secrets coming to the surface.
Exactly.
Moon is the keeper of the intuition. Okay.
Cockroaches.
Jules 1280. Hi, Mel and Arthur. Love your show. Gentlemen, thanks for sharing your gifts with us today. Well, thank you for asking.
Thank you.
My question is, Florida has a new bill coming up which will legalize kidnapping of transgender children. Will this become law?
No.
I didn't hear about them kidnapping transgender children.
What they're doing is they want to have it so that if a parent doesn't agree to having a child transgendered, but one of them does agree to it, they can stop it and take the child away. And even if it's from another state, it's across state lines that they want to do this.
No, Florida can't pass a bill for other states.
Well, I'm just saying that's their mentality.
Well, if it ever goes to the Supreme Court, which it will, my guides tell me, and his book banning will go to the Supreme Court. And
By the way, this fell out of my bookcase this morning.
there you go. Fahrenheit 451.
I mean, when are they gonna ban that one?
If his, okay, yeah, when are they going to ban the Bible? That would cause an uproar, wouldn't it? In schools. Okay, so what I was saying was my guides were telling me that so him banning books, To Catch Her, A Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, him saying that teachers can't say gay. If a woman takes a morning after pill, she could be held for felony charges. Him now saying that you can take a child away from a parent because the child is transgendered.
Or they're saying it's because it's the child's being injured.
If that went to the Supreme Court, all right, I don't see those things holding up. I'm talking about the Supreme Court of the United States. One, you can't limit people's expression of freedom by reading, tell them they can't read books. So if a teacher wants to say the word gay, they can't stop that. That's freedom of speech.
What about the kids? I mean, they say they're doing this to save children, but what about the children that are trans and gay and all that stuff growing up?
But they're playing on that whole thing, pray away the gay. That if you take the kid away, it won't be transgendered anymore. That's a crock of BS, and they know it.
As far as I know it, every gay person I know is born from a heterosexual couple.
They're just pandering to the ultra right, and that's what he's trying to do to gain political favor.
And he wants to run for president, and it's not going to happen.
He'll probably run for president. But anyway, my point is, if
the court will stop this eventually,
if the Florida Supreme Court says it's okay, other courts will say no, it isn't.
Appeals courts, everything, appellate courts, whatever.
So,
I don't see it happening.
They're picking on trans now. Then the next they'll be coming after LGBT, everybody that's gay or bi or whatever. And it's just a question of when. And it's gay marriage has been codified, yay. But I'm telling you.
Well, that's why I have said when I talk to my relatives back east and they're like, "Are you in California?" I'm like, "Yeah, what?" Like they start quoting the right wing. I'm like, I don't deal with it.
No, you can't. Anyway,
it's just
hold up, because the parents have rights, and so do the kids. Okay, Ace Lynn, I think is the word. Will 45 be going to prison? I see him indicted, but I don't see him in jail.
I don't see him in stripes or behind bars, but I do feel like his career is dead and he will not be able to run for anything. And that is more prison for this man that wants attention all the time, and he's not going to get any. But he's going to have his own private little hell to live in, yes.
Let's see. And does Satan ban the books in Florida? Well, he'll try, but if it goes to the Supreme Court, they're going to say, you can't, people have the right to read what they want to read.
Right. And parents have the right to have their children read what the children want to read.
Well, if he banned the books, when he did ban certain books, oh my God, they were sold out on the internet.
Oh, of course. Ban my book and it'll sell,
Well, if I had a kid in school in Florida, I'd say, no, I'm homeschooling. Now watch, I'll try to pass a law where you can't homeschool your kid.
Homeschool your kid if they're trans or gay. Other kids you can, but not trans or gay kids. No, if I had a kid and I was living in Florida, it would be like, honey, we're moving.
Well, some people can't afford to.
I know.
Stacy J, when will Trump be held accountable? That's a good question. Well, you know, Georgia, he's in trouble in Georgia and New York.
A lot of places. We just don't know the fine print yet.
Well, my guides had told me that women will bring him down, and this whole Stormy Daniel things is starting to resurrect again. So,
Yeah, and it's stuff that might like that Michael Cohen had talked about and predicted is all starting to happen, come to the surface. So
well, this
I
is go ahead. I'm sorry.
what I was gonna say is here on Earth, it may seem like it's taking too long, but in heaven, oh no, he's been judged.
In spirit.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Catherine Benson. Some Republicans here in Georgia are trying to get Fannie Willis fired due to her investigations and
Right.
possible indictment of Trump. What do you see coming of that? I don't see her fired.
Gonna happen. She's not going anywhere.
I think they know better. And if
Mhm.
she is fired, ooh,
Talk about going to the Supreme Court
oh,
for lawsuits.
um, and I see more justices on the court as well at some point. Are some of these leaving?
Well, I predicted 2 years ago that Clarence Thomas would be in trouble because of Ginny. And I still feel he may be stepping down under health reasons, but it's not. It's other stuff.
Um, well, a lot of us have said that, but I think what's going to happen, when I say I think, I'm really saying I'm
No,
predicting, I intuit.
I know what you're saying.
Um,
That there'll be more justices, not 9, but maybe 11 or 12.
I also see that there's going to be rules of conduct they have to follow.
Yes,
Will almost be like law, and on certain cases, like where if their spouse or somebody's involved, they have to recuse themselves.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, okay, let me see here. Okay, here's one, Bliss 52. It says, how much BS will we have to put up with from the repubes leading up to the 2024 election? All buckle up your seatbelt. You ain't seen
It's gonna be a
nothing.
bumpy ride.
I'm already tired of it, and it's just started. Guess I'll have to stop watching the news until election results are confirmed.
It's called Netflix. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Give me one.
Actually, I watched a movie the other night, 7 Days in May. Do you remember that?
I never saw it.
It's about a general that's trying to throw a coup against the United States. This was Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas,
I gotta watch it.
Ava Gardner. It was amazing.
I gotta watch it.
It read so much of what's going on today.
Um, here's one. After hearing so much controversy about where COVID started, will Dr. Fauci be dragged into Congress for his handling of it? Well, I mean, this house is a witch hunt, you know.
Yeah, they'll call him in, but they're not gonna get anything out of him.
I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. But this
No.
whole committee, some of the questions they were asking, and did you see Merrick Garland? He stood up to them. He
Oh
didn't
God, yes. When they said, well, this stuff was leaked, and he said, actually, that was part of the stuff that Trump's people basically put in the file
exactly. Oh wow.
for documents.
Okay. Wow. Somebody is asking that one of their bills went up, and I won't mention the name of the company. And when the person
Utility
called,
bill by chance?
I'm sorry,
A utility bill?
I, I don't
You
want
can't
to.
say. Okay, go for it.
Um, so when the customer called to ask why it went up, they said that Donald Trump was a shareholder, and that was why. So I'm just wondering if any of that money is going to him, probably. And I just wonder if they're going to donate to his financial run. That was the question.
If it's not going to his financial run, it's going to his law fees.
So who's paying for it? We are.
Yeah.
Okay. Sissy Crusoe says she wants to know if Condoleezza Rice will run for president in the near future. Also, will Hawley, Cotton, Cruz, and Jordan be kicked off their judiciary committee soon? Well, I see them off the committee, but it's not that soon. I don't know
No,
about if Condoleezza Rice will run for
I don't
president.
see it. I don't see it.
I don't know if she's announcing or what she's doing, but
I don't know, but
I mean,
I,
when I look at Donald Trump, I heard W, George W. Bush, say, "Do y'all miss me yet?"
yeah,
I thought he'd go down as the worst president in American history. I was wrong on that one.
yeah. Well, up until the time, you know.
Right. All right. Let's see. I've got well, I think I've asked everything to the best of my knowledge. Um, yeah, I don't have any more questions.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
anything you'd like to talk about before we wrap it up?
Just what a wonderful person you are.
Oh, I have my moments.
No, but I'm serious. When I came into this whole YouTube stuff and started looking at it, a friend had turned me on, an astrologer friend had turned me on to Linda G and you, and it's just amazing what I've learned from you guys. And so I appreciate it and thank you.
Oh, I've got a question. You're welcome. Well, that happened to me. I had a YouTube channel. I think I had like 300 or 400 followers. And a friend of mine out in California, Gunnar Goebbels, told me about the Comanche Psychic. And he said, "Can I give her your number?" I thought, "I don't care." And I guess she was emailing me, and I get so many emails.
Yeah.
I finally checked my emails and I called her. And so we started talking, and I said, she said, "How about if I read for you and you read for me?" I said, "Okay." So I guess we set up for the following night. So when I called her, I said, "Would you like to do FaceTime or would you like to do Zoom?" She goes, "No, my hair's in curlers." I said, "Well, I'd like to say mine is too, but I don't have enough of it." And I guess then she said, "Do you like Trump?" And I let out this whole string of expletives. I said, "You mean Cheeto head?"
Yeah.
And she said,
Humpty
so
Dumpty.
after the readings, and she said, if I'd be on her show. And I said, "I'd love to." And then she
Wonderful.
pushed me to just build my channel. I'm like, "I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know." And she kept saying, "No, your guides want you to do it." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but go."
Well, this is my first YouTube show, and we always remember our first.
Depends on what it's in.
Well, couldn't walk for a week,
I'm
but
not
that's
touching that one. All right, here's a good one. Kathy Reagan's. Um, um, oh, cool. My question is about Ukraine and the rebuilding contracts. Do you see Ukraine seeking contractors from Europe and the United States to start construction, or do you see Ukraine seeking the assistance from China due to the affordability aspects for construction projects? I don't think they're going to go to China.
no, not going to go to China. Also, I got a hesitation about the United States going in as contractors to rebuild because they the troops can't go in to Ukraine. And I feel that, I mean, I know there's some people that soldiers that have gone over to fight for Ukraine, and some have died, unfortunately. But I don't see contract. I do eventually, once this whole thing is over and we've had the Putin burial, then yeah.
Well, I do see American companies getting contracts to help build Ukraine, but I don't think anybody's going to start
It's not,
really
no, it's not gonna be right now.
until the war's done. But I do think that some companies are going to go in and help them repair some infrastructure so they can try to keep like emergency gas,
Yeah.
emergency heat, and
Yeah.
emergency water and things like that. I don't think that Ukraine would ever do any deals with China because um, they're going to know that China was helping Russia under the table.
Right.
And so Ukraine will give them the big middle finger.
Yeah.
Um, a question came to mind, and a lot of people have asked this, but it just popped in my head. Will the United States continue to send aid to Ukraine, money and weapons? I hear yes.
Oh, I know that there are certain people in GOP that are trying to block that, but I still see it happening.
Well, they can block it all they want, and they now they're starting to yelp about, the Democrats spend too much, but they let Trump spend more
But
money. He spent
4 years,
more money. Trump spent
he,
Trump spent more money than any president in American history and wasted a lot of on that stupid wall.
well, Trump brought how much debt the company had up until the time Trump went in. He doubled it in 4 years from the beginning of time for the states. So, I mean, it's nuts. And then well, look, every time we have a Republican in the House, Democrat president, we have the debt ceiling issues. You never heard a word about debt ceiling issues when Trump was around.
Well, the debt ceiling is not about future spending, about us paying what we owe.
What we already have, right?
It's about paying what we've already spent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if they hold the debt ceiling hostage, it's not going to look good for them, and they won't get paid either. So,
I
but
mean,
those Republicans who, talk about that, they like Putin and all of this, then go live with them.
yeah,
Go and live with them, and
yeah,
then report back to us how good it is.
yeah. I'll give you an airplane ticket and some borscht. Go. Bye.
Exactly. We'll buy you round trip first class.
No, one-way first class.
There you go. Well, round trip, but then when you get there, we'll just cancel your return.
Yeah, right. After we get the money.
Okay. So once again, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
At psychicarthur.com, Arthur at psychicarthur.com. And I wish I had my phone number, sorry. Or you can leave a message at 301-494-5955.
Is it 310 or 30?
310. 310.
310.
310.
Got it. This has been so much fun. We've got to do it again.
I hope so. And when I get things going, there's an invite for you. The door's always open, Mel.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Everybody call and get a reading from this man. He's really good. And go to his channel and subscribe. And if you like today's, thumbs up.
thank you. And also guided meditations. They'll
Yes.
help a lot. It helps with insomnia. I have a lot of clients saying they listen, they sleep now.
The music is wonderful. On another show, we'll talk about how you compose the music, but you compose all of it, correct? And you play it as well.
Yes. I don't say compose the music. It's more like creating the music for these things, like soundscapes. But I do the writing, I do the voiceovers, I edit that, then I get the videos, and they're not pastoral rainfalls or anything like that. It's basically looking at a lava lamp on crack, because it's just basically, you're supposed to close your eyes. So close your eyes. But if you don't, then there's this image, abstract images. But no, it's because of you, Mel, that you suggested I do that. So again, thank you. Gee, maybe you're psychic.
My job is just to give this psychic advice. It's up to somebody to decide whether they wish to follow it or not.
Well, I always tell people I make this stuff up and hope it happens. And they ask me, how do you know? So
You just know, right?
yeah. Oh, I have clients that call and say, tell me something that nobody knows. I'm like, I have 3 nipples. Nobody knows that.
Yeah. People say, what do you see for me? I go, an appointment.
An appointment. Yes.
All right. This has been fun.
Thank you, Mel.
Wrap it up, you guys. Everybody stay well. Tomorrow night on Kevin Chandler. I'm sorry, tomorrow night. No, tomorrow night with Aiden. Thursday night with Kevin Chandler. Friday night with Linda and Kevin Lewis. So and they're all on my channel this week. So
Your dance card is full.
well, I'm not complaining, but we're getting ready to go away. So I kind of wanted to squeeze everything in.
Yeah. Good. Have
We'll
fun.
we will do this again.
Thank you, Mel.
All right.
Bye, everybody.